Good morning. It is Monday, October 21st, and it's a beautiful overreaction Monday. Eagles stink. Falcons stink. Bears stink. It's very top-heavy, both AFC and NFC, with a lot of separation between the good teams and the teams that stink. I can't say that enough. There's a lot of bad football being played by some teams coming up out of nowhere, and a lot of good football being played by teams that we could have never imagined. Dak Prescott looked like an all-pro last night, a perennial all-pro. Looked like a guy who deserves $35 million. Were we wrong? Was I wrong? I proposed some questions. Should Dak be traded? Should you think about bringing in Cam Newton? I just asked the question. I didn't say they should. I just asked the question. I got bombarded by Cowboys fans saying, no, Dak is our guy. You're not watching the same games we're watching if you think Dak's the problem. And last night, I think Dak proved them to be 100% right. Making checks, reading the defense, taking the ball in his own hands to make plays, delivering great dimes to Amari Cooper. But that Eagles team looked terrible. Lane Johnson said afterwards that the team was showing up late to meetings, showing up late to practice. This was a wake-up call. We're in week 7. Wake-up call should have happened a long time ago. It shouldn't have to take a team embarrassing you on national television for that to happen, but I respect the fact that they've acknowledged it. Maybe they'll turn it around. But you know what? Spade's a spade. If somebody's going to show up late to practice, show up late to meetings, they're probably not all in to begin with. So that team, might as well rule them completely out. Indianapolis Colts continue to build on what's going to be an incredible Super Bowl run. Can't wait to watch Colts battle against the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. Green Bay Packers, by the way, it's all clicking. We've been talking about this. As soon as that LaFleur offense gets gelled with Aaron Rodgers and that defense continues to play, they are going to be an unstoppable team. Are the LA Rams back or the Atlanta Falcons just stink? We got a lot of questions, a lot of answers. Brian Westbrook, Terrell Davison, Johnny Hecker. Yes, Johnny Hecker, incredible quarterback and elite punter, will be joining us today to talk about all the stuff happening in the world. It's a beautiful overreaction Monday. Evan Foxy, play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice. Thank you so much for that. The lights just went out, and then they have come back on in beautiful fashion. I appreciate them working. Also working right alongside of me is a man who's a diehard Green Bay Packer fan. He's actually a part owner of the team. Has to be happy that Aaron Rodgers accounted for the same amount of touchdowns yesterday as he did in completions. Ty Schmidt, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I feel great. It's tough to not look at that game and say, hey, this is what we've been waiting for. We've been saying it all season. They finally started to click. Rodgers and LaFleur look like they're having a great time together. I would not want to be playing the Packers right now.
At any time soon. Now, have they peaked too early, people are going to say. I think they're very young in that offense. I assume Aaron Rodgers is only going to get better and better. He and LaFleur with the synchronized fist pump and the after-game celebration is definitely a peak inside of an operation that seems to be humming on all fronts. That team, we got a chance to talk to Aaron Jones, who showcased an incredible wide receiver ability this past weekend. Aaron Jones told us that team's having fun, too. Like, they're enjoying the process. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's happy. Every time he has a post-game interview, all he's talking about is how good the team is around him. Remember, the last time Aaron Rodgers had a top 10 defense was 2010, and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He normally kills him with indifference, but now he's excited. He's pumped. And he got meleeed in the locker room afterwards after LaFleur gave him the game ball. That's a beautiful thing happening in Green Bay, especially for the Cheeseheads. They deserve it. What a loyal fan base. It's about to be cold as balls in Green Bay, and they're just going to fill that place up, and they're getting a chance to watch a football team that's really good. Interesting enough, though, speaking of it being cold as balls up there, Teddy Bridgewater and that Saints team continuing to win with half the team gone is one of the storylines of this entire season because Drew Brees gets hurt, hurts his thumb. Oh, no, what do we do? Drew Brees came back, by the way, because the Minneapolis Miracle happened. He comes back yet again. Then last year it was the pass interference phantom no call by Roby Coleman and that ref who's from Los Angeles who didn't call it that actually instituted the rule change this year. Terrible ways to end seasons. Drew Brees comes back yet again. Breaks every passing record. Here we are. How's it going? Top of the mountain. Everybody can go to hell. Then he hurts his thumb. Oh, no. What are we going to do? Sean Payton takes his big old brain, Sean Payton, starts drawing up plays for Teddy Bridgewater to win this game. The defense starts showing up, and Teddy Bridgewater's now undefeated. Imagine what they'd be with Drew Brees right now. We'd be talking about them probably being the hottest team in the NFL if Drew Brees was dominant. I'm not saying Teddy Bridgewater is not a good quarterback. I think the Chicago Bears would love to have Teddy Bridgewater. We'll talk about that in a little bit, how Zito and most of Bears fans should think about contemplating canceling the Chicago Bears season until they decide to play football good. I think that's something Zito should think about doing.
Bear down.
Bears all the way down right now. I mean, I don't know how much more down you can bear, but if you grit and bear it any longer, they're going to be bear at, and that's out of the league. They might think about tossing them to the XFL if they continue to play the way they're playing on that offense. I'm just telling you, it's Overreaction Monday, and I'm feeling a certain type of way about that Bears team. Maybe because I thought about going to kick for them. And the thought was like, hey, they're a Super Bowl contender, though. They are a really good team. They have not looked at it at all. Chicago Bears fans should not be happy about what's going on in Chicago. Chicago's Bears fans should not be happy that defense that was absolutely dominant at the beginning seemed to get their soul sucked out of them, knowing that if they get the ball back in the offensive side, they're not going to do anything with it.
No.
You would have been slinging touchdowns, though.
I think, honestly, I might have been quarterback at this point. If I go play for the Bears, there's a chance that I'm lined up under center.
Yeah, I mean, judging by what the product they've put on the field, who's to say you wouldn't have been the best guy?
And I like Mitchell Trubisky. I assume he's a good guy. I assume he's good. But boy, what he's doing just is not working. If you were to walk into a kitchen that Mitchell Trubisky was cooking in, you would say, that smells like garbage. That's what's happening right now with that offense, absolute garbage. And on the flip side, Teddy Bridgewater getting these big wins for the Saints is paramount. And I mean that when I say that, because in the playoffs, Drew Brees and that Saints team inside the Superdome, being able to have home field advantage is massive. That place is filled with freaks and geeks. The people come strolling off of Bourbon Street, blacked out off of 4 hurricanes. They go in there wearing costumes as if every day's Halloween, and they know that for 4 quarters, they're just going to lose their minds for the New Orleans Saints. But on the flip side, Teddy Bridgewater loses a couple of these games, and you let's say the Green Bay Packers, who are 5-1, get the lead in the NFC, get home field advantage. Then Drew Brees and his possible noodle arm that he has at the end of the season, not saying he will this year because he gets a break, but his noodle arm at the end of the season has to travel into the frozen tundra. That's a whole different world. That's why these Teddy Bridgewater wins are so huge. Not for right now. They're great right now. Do a little motorbike celebration in the locker room, that whole thing. But down the road, the playoffs is what we're all talking about when it comes to these wins for the Saints being paramount.
Yeah, and it's tough with the Packers because they might be peaking too early, but like you said, like if they don't get home field advantage, I'm not nearly as confident them going into New Orleans and being able to beat the Saints at home with Drew Brees.
It's just a tough place to play. I mean, there's wind in there in the dome that they flick on and flick off for the kickers from other teams. That's just noted. They got voodoo. They got witches. They got it all down there, and you just don't want to have to travel. But you make them come out of the Superdome and come to Lambeau or have to travel over to San Francisco, which is a hike over there. By the way, it's not San Francisco. It's Santa Clara. It's the Santa Clara 49ers. We were told that by San Franciscans, that they no longer claim them. They're the Santa Clara 49ers. Well, that sucks for San Franciscans who had to sit through the terrible years because that Niners team is good all of a sudden, and that defense can win them games. That seems to be the trend in the NFC. Great defenses are winning games for them. The Saints' great defense won them a game. The Packers' great defense have kept them in and have won them games this year. In the 49ers, there's no denying that was an absolute downpour yesterday against the Redskins in Washington. There's no denying that was not conditions that would be conducive to good offensive play. But that 49ers team, that 49ers defense is just suffocating other teams. I mean, there's no the Browns on primetime television, and last week against the Rams, and then now against Washington. That 49ers defense is the truth, and I'll be excited to see if they can keep this up all the way through, or will somebody be able to figure out how to beat them. Nick Bosa is an absolute rookie who's playing like a vet. He's a guy that is feared. He's a monster. His grandpa's a mob boss. I mean, there's a lot going on, but I like the way the NFC is shaping up, and in my eyes, it still runs through Green Bay, but I think those other two are also in contention.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the NFC West, too, because I thought that might might be like a dog-eat-dog kind of situation where they kind of just sort themselves out. But, I mean, I guess Seattle losing yesterday was huge. San Francisco might end up just running away with that division. I think you can pretty much say the Rams are done. I mean, they won yesterday, but...
Don't let the Cardinals get hot. Kyler Murray learned how to play football, it seems like.
Yeah, that's true.
And by learning how to play football, I don't mean throwing the ball incredibly well. I mean making smart decisions. Not trying to extend plays when you don't have to or can't. A third down and manageable is a lot better than 3rd and 45 because you were scrambling for your life and you took a sack. Or you threw the ball away and throw a pick. He's making a lot better decisions, and the Cardinals are definitely being rewarded by that. But is it too little too late? Because these Niners continue to steer this ship. They just continue to guide this thing. They're undefeated right now. They look like they're going to run away with it. Seattle Seahawks can't believe they lost to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is just a special type of talent.
Mm-hmm.
A couple weeks ago, he said he hates running. And I think the reason why he hated running is because anytime people would talk about him, like we are right now, like, man, that guy's an incredible athlete. He probably felt like he never got enough credit for being an actual quarterback. So he said he hated running. Well, I'm happy he got over that. I'm happy he and Greg Roman came to a conversation and got over. I don't know if it was a kumbaya situation like what happened in the Vikings, which we'll talk about. But I'm happy that Lamar Jackson got over the I hate running thing, because there's not a lot of humans in the history of humans that no matter what football field they walk on it, no matter what level, they're the most athletic person on the field. Lamar Jackson is a game changer, not because he went 9 of 20 yesterday, which by all accounts is not an incredible stat line, but because he has the ability to turn any play into a touchdown play. Any play, no matter what the situation, no matter how much the pocket is getting crashed on top of him, he can elude everybody, he can juke people, and it seems like he's making the right decisions. And to get a win in Seattle against an MVP candidate like Russell Wilson, that says a lot about how the AFC North has got no shot against the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Cleveland Browns might as well not even come out and play football anymore. Pittsburgh Steelers, doesn't matter if it's Mason Rudolph or Ducky Hodges. And the Bengals are the Bengals. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens seem to be running away with the AFC North. They're going to be tough to stop. I don't know how you stop them, to be honest with you. Maybe Lamar Jackson gets hurt. I have no idea how long his style of play is going to be able to last. But while we have him, we should enjoy the hell out of it. Cleveland Browns had an off week. It made me remember, like, man, I had so many high hopes for them, and now it's just been kind of busted, just like the rest of the dog pound. And I've heard Duck Hodges is not going to be playing for the Steelers. That's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean,
kid's a champion, whatever he does. Undefeated as a quarterback, and when he starts blowing on something, that thing's going right to the top. It's a wild world right now. Seahawks are good, but not great. The Niners' defense seems to be elite. It's going to win them games. The NFC is shaping up to be a special, special playoff run. If you talk about the Niners, Saints, Packers, and now I guess we got to say it. I guess we have to say it. And this isn't just obligatory conversation. This is something we have to say. Yes, I got 2 text messages telling me that I must talk about this in the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes of every hour. But the Dallas Cowboys, if the Dallas Cowboys can play how they played against Philadelphia Eagles, yes, that Eagles secondary stinks. Mm-hmm. And yes, Lane Johnson said that players weren't showing up on time to meetings. And yes, Doug Peterson guaranteed a win and then backed off it after watching his secondary practice a little bit. But that Dallas Cowboys team showed up, and that healthy offensive line were moving bodies. Dak Prescott was delivering dimes, and Zeke was being fed one for a hundo. And that defense was swarming even without Van Der Esch. Sean Lee, the OG, the veteran, slides in and does just as good of a job. That Cowboys team has all the makings to do good. It's just, can they do good on a regular basis? Can they show up? I don't think Jason Garrett's on the hot seat this week. I don't think Kellen Moore's on the hot seat this week. I think Dak Prescott is in line for a lot of money this week. But I think, man, it's so week to week with them, you never know what you're going to get. It's an inconsistency issue down there in Dallas. But if they show up like they did last night on a regular basis, you have to add them into the NFC conversation. And if their kicker can continue to bomb footballs from 63 yards, the only kicker in the history of the game to hit 3 60-plus yard balls. It's not easy from back there. Just a tiny little miss. It's a big miss from that range. You got to hit the ball well. You got to get it up enough to get it over the line. And then you got to hope that thing stays straight for long enough. 189 feet that thing traveled last night. Could have been good from 200 feet if I had to guess. He absolutely slaughtered that football, and it just felt like when that ball went through, I was like, everything's going for the Cowboys right now. And if that is the type of team that can show up and play, I think that Cowboys team has to be talked about in the NFC. They're definitely going to win the NFC East. So now you got Packers, Niners, Saints, Cowboys. The NFC playoffs are going to be a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and that's why I don't know if you can necessarily trust them because they're so inconsistent.
So inconsistent.
It's just like, and granted, the Eagles' defense isn't great, but I don't know. I mean, it's just I don't know how you can play so bad. You go out and get dog walked by the Jets one week.
Oh, dog walk.
Granted, they didn't have, their tackles, and that makes a big
but
big
still,
difference.
Coaching can fix that.
Exactly. I don't know. They're just so inconsistent, and I think they play to the level of their opponents a lot. So, they go out and they'll blow out. Well, I guess no, that doesn't make any sense. They'll blow out the bad teams, and the good teams they just don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I think they could potentially get outclassed in strategery. What I enjoyed most about Dak Prescott is last week I sent out a poll asking if Cam Newton was an option. Do you think he'd be better in Dallas? I didn't say that.
No.
I just asked the question. And Cowboys fans came after me. They're like, you're not watching the same team we're watching. Dak is nowhere near the problem. What are you talking? This is after he threw 4 picks, by the way. He threw 4 picks in the last game. And I was being attacked by Cowboys fans. They're like, don't talk about Dak that way. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, why are these people, just like Bears fans with Trubisky, why are these people so loyal to this guy? Last night, I got a chance to see why. Him checking that offense, it was a cover 0, changing it down, making a play, is just a high football IQ move. That's a big-time quarterback play to do that. To have the confidence to do that, to trust your eyes. Okay, I saw this on film, now I'm going to make a real read in primetime television that's very much going to affect this game. To have that ability and that confidence is massive. That's big-time quarterback stuff. Then, whenever Malcolm Jenkins hits him a little bit late, then Malcolm Jenkins holds him up a little bit, and he's basically saying, I'm like, hey, it's just me. And Malcolm Jenkins, OG in this league, probably has the respect of a lot of people. If he was to do that to a lot of players, they'd probably be like, oh, what's up, man? Let go of me. Instead, Dak said, no, Dak, don't play that. Get your hands off of me. It reminded me of DeAndre Hopkins and D'Angelo Hall when Hard Knocks happened.
Yep.
When D'Angelo Hall was trying to teach DeAndre Hopkins something, he was on the Redskins, and Hopkins was on the Texans. He was like grabbing. He's like, hey, whenever I do this, you should do this. And Hopkins was like, get the hell off of me. I'm just like you. I don't need you teaching me things. That's what it felt like between Malcolm Jenkins and Dak last night. Malcolm was trying to have a moment with him, like telling him, like, hey, it's just me. Don't worry about it. And Dak was like, get the hell off of me. That is a massive moment in my eyes for the type of competitor, type of athlete, type of player he is. I love that very much. Not alone the ability for him to make big-time plays and take it himself last night, dive it over, and lead his team to a massive win. Talked about field position afterwards, so he won me over for that because field position matters. But I saw a lot of the reasons why those Cowboys fans love Dak Prescott. And yes, I know that I've been kind of hard on him and Kellen Moore for being a lackluster team, a team that we are forced to watch week in and week out. But boy, if they can play like last night on a regular occasion, that Cowboys team is going to be a lot of fun to watch going forward.
Well, and we've said it. You see how much easier things get when you get Zeke involved early and often.
Just give the guy the ball, dude.
It just opens everything up. And, I don't know, which kind of makes you wonder, what were we waiting for in terms of this?
Zeke's got like 6 nose piercings.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't get that.
I was intrigued by that. I don't care what you look like, dude. You can run the ball well. Do what you got to do. Do what you do, but watch my shoes. Speaking of my shoes, got Paul George's on. Had a little NBA talk earlier, met Adam Silver. I said, what are you going to do about China, pal?
What'd he say?
He didn't talk to me. He just went and talked to Greenberg for 20 minutes. It was a great interview. I kind of got blown out. He's a very nice guy, though. Shook my hand, looked me right in the eye. I said, sir, how's it going? He's from Duke, so he asked Rex Ryan how he feels about Danny Dimes. And I said, he stinks, Adam. He stinks. And Adam looked at me. He didn't react to anything. I was trying to get a little pop from the guy, but he had a lot going on. Adam Silver, very nice guy. I don't think he's a big McAfee guy. 10:20. Got to get to a break here. We got some big-time guests coming on today. Brian Westbrook, ever heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
Talked to him about the Eagles being terrible at football. Absolutely terrible.
They do. They stink.
They stink. That's like the Rams. Can we say they're back? Because that Falcons team is so bad.
Yeah, terrible. No, I think the Rams stink too.
Watch it. We got Johnny Hecker coming on 11:30. I'm going to tell him you said that.
He's the best quarterback on the team. I mean,
Put the poll out. I'm polling the people right now.
yep.
Is Johnny Hecker better than Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback? Answer, yes.
Who says no?
Who says no? I'll go straight to the stats if you want to. And I can also go to him being able to deliver a ball that's a 5-yard pass in the vicinity of his wide receiver. Terrell Davis as well. Got a lot of things to talk about on this Overreaction Monday. 10:21. So thankful you're listening. This is the Pat McAfee Show. thought for sure his lyrics would be coming there. I forgot we're using this hack music.
Foxy said it's all new today. All new tracks.
This sounds pretty good. This sounds like they'd be like, well, sitting on the back country road, drinking my drink and smoking my smoke. Sitting here all alone with my heart just a little bit broke. I've been thinking all day, I've been thinking all night. How does Mitchell Trubisky stink so bad? So bad. The interesting thing, Pat, Mahomes they could have had. Deshaun Watson was there too. Instead, they decided to pick it in blue. Mitchell Trubisky over CMC. McAfee could have been drafted C. I'm heartbroke Bears fan. Bear down. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. This show stinks. I have no idea why anybody listens to the show. It did sound like it was going to get into a good country song there, though.
Well, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. You replaced Trubisky with like a girl who broke your heart, and guess what? Nashville's come.
That's what's going on in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Zito, you're back there giving directions and stuff, which should never happen, ever. How do you feel as a Chicagoan, knowing that that defense that was once dominant has decided just to quit because the offense is so bad?
I said yesterday, I hope we could just like freeze every defensive player for like 2 years until we could get another quarterback in the next 2-3 years.
So there it is. Zito's out on Mitchell Trubisky. There it is. We just heard the voice of Chicago, Jose Zito Perez, is completely out on Mitchell Trubisky. Is that accurate?
He is a false prophet in my book right now.
Oh!
But Moses had a comeback, though, so you never know.
I'm not sure Moses did. You're talking about Jesus, I think. He came out of the cave, which I can respect. I don't think we know that book well enough either of us. But that is a real feeling that they should be having in Chicago. This Mitchell Trubisky guy had a big year last year. Big year. Going into this season, they're like, you know what? We were just a deflected double doink away from going forward in the playoffs last year. Mitchell Trubisky is going to play better with even more experience and even more knowledge, which comes, by the way, which is what Dak Prescott did last night, where he made the check, he trusted his eyes. That comes with experience, that type of stuff. You're not expecting rookies to be able to do that unless you're just... No, you're not. You're not expecting rookies to be able to do that. So with experience comes wisdom. With wisdom comes better play, you would think. All signs pointed to the Bears being halfway worth a damn this year.
Yeah.
Came out opening night, that defense suffocated the Green Bay Packers. Absolutely suffocated them. But the Green Bay Packers defense did the same thing. And everybody was like, okay, here we go. Mitchell Trubisky will get better. That Packers defense is just too good. And it just hasn't happened. He gets hurt. Shaz Daniels comes in. He does the same, much of the same. And it's almost like that Chicago Bears defense that we were once heralding, like the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens, has just completely given up. Because they know that on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's Trubisky, whether it's Nagy, whether it's a system, whether it's a scheme, whatever it is, that defense knows that they stink.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
The trickle-down effect.
Because this Bears fans, very large. They are a very large fan base.
Yeah, huge.
B, they were very close to being relevant and successful again after last year. Doink, doink happened and we're out. By the way, Cody Parkey had another doink on an extra point. That stuff.
Yeah, he did.
Kid just can't buy a break. Would the football gods just give Cody Parkey a damn break, would you?
Yeah, I think he's due.
At some point, Cody, what did Cody Parkey do? That's what I want to know. Anytime I'd get a good bounce, I'd be like, living right?
Yeah.
Living right? That's what I've been doing. Helped the lady across the road earlier. That's what happens. Ball bounces right for me. Cody Parkey, I don't know, seems like a nice guy to me. He's been nothing but polite. He lived on my couch for a day or two. I mean, he's very handsome. He's all these things. But for some reason, the football gods hate him.
Yep.
And he doesn't deserve it. But the Bears fans, I have to feel the same damn way. Doink, doink. One of the greatest rants in history, Barstool Carl, yelling as he's walking out there. The hopes, the hypes, the anticipation, everything like that. We got a team this year, and then now they just don't. They just stink at football.
Well, and at the start of the year, you know, a lot of people were picking them to win the division, and you'd circle that Bears game and be like, all right, they're going to give us because of their defense, it's going to be a very, very tough game. But we've been saying it. You've been talking about a lot of other teams, that trickle-down effect. Like, they just, like you said, they know, okay, we're going to have to basically outscore the opposing offense if we want to win this game. Because Trubisky isn't doing anything.
You would think, though, that the defense can maybe take pride in that. Mm-hmm. Like, I heard these stories about the Ravens defense when Ray Lewis was there and T. Sizz and them, and the offense would fail, and they'd be talking so much grumpy against the offense. They'd be like, can't win with it, throw it out. It's almost like that defense, and I think Rex Ryan even alluded to this, and I think Chuck was there when this was happening. That defense took pride knowing that it was their team.
Right.
Like, we are a defensive team. It almost feels like that was the feeling going into the season. And somehow this Bears defense has just decided, we can't even help this team. Like, at some point, there was a shift between we can win games by being so disruptive to the other. We can win games by Khalil Mack getting around the corner and causing turnovers and literally just taking the ball from people. We can win games from causing pressure on a quarterback that makes missed throws that gets an interception. Hakeem Hicks gets hurt, and all of a sudden things start to change. But it feels like that defense no longer has the mindset that they can win games, and I do believe it's because they've lost hope that team is worth a single damn. And I don't know how you if you're Chuck Pagano talking to that defense, boys, listen, beginning of the season, we were dominant. Okay, remember that? We had our blinders on, which Nagy said afterwards, by the way. That is a Chuck Pagano staple. Blinders on, horse blinders. You ever see a horse? You know what they see? Straight ahead. They don't see anything to the side. They don't care what the other horses are doing. They can hear them. Yeah, we can hear them. Yeah, sure. Talk what you need to talk, but we can't see them. The only thing we can see is what's in front of us, and that's what we need to do. Nagy even mentioned that in the press conference. Mm-hmm. That's what Chuck has to be saying to this defense. Listen, boys, just look forward. And if the offense is on the field in front of you, just look down. Just don't even watch what it is. We need to stay positive somehow. We need to start dominating these games and being game wreckers. That's what Chuck Pagano has to be saying to that defense. But at some point, you got to get those 11 men that are on the field to believe that they do stand a chance if they dominate. And somehow that got lost within the Bears defense.
Well, and for whatever reason, Nagy coming from Andy Reid's school, like, they don't run the football at all. They put everything on Trubisky's shoulders and expect him to win games. I think it said they have the fewest rushing attempts in franchise history far this season.
And yesterday was the lowest attempt in franchise history.
Exactly. You can't expect Trubisky to go out and out-duel guys on his own. He's just not going to do it. He hasn't shown that he can do it, and they're putting a lot of faith in him.
I mentioned in the production meeting for Get Up this morning, I posed the question, like, if Cam Newton was traded, because Bleacher Report came out and said that one anonymous AFC GM said that he thinks 10 teams would try to get Cam Newton if he was put on the trading block, since the Panthers seemingly are doing better without him playing than with him playing, although he's still an incredible player. We said last week there's a couple landing spots for him. Titans, even though Tannehill is undefeated. Mm-hmm. Sucks for Mariota about the way that game ended, because now everybody's just forgotten about Mariota, Tannehill's team now. And that shouldn't have been a win. The Chargers should have got in there somehow, some way. The fact that they didn't is almost laughable. And Philip Rivers, there's another guy, the football gods just hate him.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets pregnant every week, and then he never wins, and he's in the West Coast bias. He doesn't want to live in L.A., so he drives from say. I mean, Philip Rivers, the football gods have. I mean, they have Hurricane Grumpy all over Philip Rivers' football career. Philip Rivers still first ballot Hall of Famer, I believe, for all he's accomplished. But that Chargers team should have won that game about 7, 8 different times. We said the Titans were a potential landing spot. We said some other places were potential landing spots. But for me, if Cam Newton was traded to the Bears, I think the Bears would be good immediately. I think they would make them a much better team immediately. Day one, upon arrival, there'd be a re-energized amongst the boys there. It'd be a better team offensively. And Greeny mentioned, he said, if you say that, I will say this. Ryan Pace, the GM, he's the one who traded away the farm to get Mitchell Trubisky. There is no chance that they ever give up on Mitchell Trubisky, especially the Ryan Pace in charge. And that's 100% true. When egos can get in the way of their decisions just to make it work almost, it feels like that's going to happen in Chicago if Mitchell Trubisky doesn't figure this out. I mean, it's tough to watch him play football. He's not good. Same thing happened for us whenever we traded for Trent Richardson. Mm-hmm. Cleveland got rid of him for a first-round pick. Trent Richardson was worth 2 first-round picks. I don't know Trent Richardson as a person that well. When he showed up, he had headphones on a lot. I got a chance to chat with him. Kind of cool guy, but he was kind of off by himself a lot. But when he got on the football field, he was not good.
Right.
I mean, it's documented that he was not great for us. But we refused to take him off because we traded a first-round pick for him. He was the starter every single week when everybody on the team knew he shouldn't have been. Whenever he was missing things and everybody else would be punished because the GM traded a first-round pick for him and wanted it to work, wanted to look like a genius, and it just wasn't the case. I think that might happen with Ryan Pace here with Mitchell Trubisky because I do believe. Now, I haven't had talks with Carolina Panthers. I have no clue what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, what a spark for Chicago if they were to trade for a quarterback that was somewhat okay. And I'm not saying Cam Newton's better than Mitchell Trubisky. I have no idea if that's accurate or not. I think Cam Newton got his happiness sucked out of him whenever Von Miller stripped that ball in the Super Bowl. But it would be a new place for Cam Newton to have to prove himself. It'd be a new human in there. It'd be a new person taking the lead. That could spark the entire organization. I'm just not sure it'll ever happen from both sides.
It probably won't, but I don't think that's too far off. I mean, Cam Newton makes them exponentially better. And we were talking about this last night. You're looking ahead. If the Bears don't win next week, they might be done. I mean, the Packers are 6-1, the Vikings are 5-2.
Oh, that Vikings team looks unstoppable now that Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, and the Kirk Cousins show saved them.
Yeah, exactly. So if they don't turn things on like now, then there's no way they're making it to the playoffs.
If Ryan Pace walks in that facility, now granted, they traded away a lot for Khalil Mack, but if he sees like a good washing machine, maybe an equipment manager that's really good, a good physical therapist out of the athletic training room, a couple chefs, I'd give a call down in Charlotte and say, hey, boys, need a washing machine? Need a quarterback if you guys got him. Send in Mrs. Frank in that foot injury. We need all the help we can get on the offensive side of the ball because the entire team is starting to quit on us because we look like high schoolers out there.
I would start
Zito, how would you
GoFundMe
feel
right
if Cam
now.
Newton showed up?
I would start GoFundMe for him right now.
For Cam Newton?
Yes, sir.
So then you would donate that to the Bears to give to Cam Newton or give to the Panthers in exchange for Cam Newton?
I would keep 10% for a finder's fee, but yes, I would give the rest of it away.
That's smart, Zito. Actually, that's one of the smartest things you've ever done. I would argue you should keep 15% if you rally enough cash there. If you can get Bears fans to go fund enough to get a new quarterback in there, I think you should definitely keep 15% because I don't think anybody will even notice, Zito.
Thank you very much. I'll keep 15 then.
Who do we got on the other side of the break here?
Terrell Davis.
Terrell Davis. I can't wait to talk to him about them saving Todd Gurley's knee. I thought about this yesterday. I can't wait to talk to him about the Denver Broncos. They stink.
Yeah, they're terrible.
I need a heavenly touch.
No, why are we playing sad music?
What is this?
'Cause I'll be backsliding. I need a little guiding for my soul.
Ooh.
Only heaven knows.
Ooh. Who's this, Foxy?
'Cause I just
No idea. I
need
just thought it was good vibes.
Oh, a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand.
10:38. We'll be back with Terrell Davis. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
Oh, a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. But every now and then I get a feeling in my bones that I'm just wandering on my own. So I hit my knees and I'm crying out, please, oh Lord, won't you bring me back home? Yeah, wash me in the water, cleanse me in the mercy of your love. I need a heavenly touch, 'cause I'll be backsliding. I need a little guiding for my soul. helping hand is gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. 'Cause I just need a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. But every now and then I get a feeling in my bones that I'm just wandering on my own. So I hit my knees and I'm crying out, please, oh Lord, won't you bring me back home? Yeah, wash me in the water, cleanse me in the mercy of your love. I need a heavenly touch, 'cause I'll be backsliding. I need a little guiding for my soul. Only heaven knows, 'cause I just need a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. 'Cause I just need a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. 'Cause I just need a helping hand.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Foxy! Thought I was going to go harder there.
A false drop.
Wait for it.
Don't tell me what to do, Foxy. Nailed it. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Incredible new hack beats from Evan Foxy's collection. It is Monday, October 21st, a beautiful overreaction Monday. We've been losing our minds all morning about a lot of things. Somebody just tweeted me. He said, hey, you're talking a lot about this Cam Newton to the Bears thing. What about Fitzmagic going to the Bears? What about Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has tried his absolute best to ruin the tanking season of the Dolphins on two separate occasions, both last week and yesterday? What if the Dolphins get so sick of Fitzpatrick attempting to ruin what they got going on and says, we need you the hell out of town, and he becomes a Chicago Bears quarterback, which, by the way, we all know Fitzmagic can do a couple of things. And what he can do is come in and energize a group. If you put that Harvard, big beard, big brain, having quarterback behind center up there in the midway, I think they become a better team immediately. And also, it energizes a group of humans that need it. So now it's either Ryan Fitzpatrick or Cam Newton. Who you picking if you're a Chicago Bears fan? We'll go straight to Zito right now. That's what I thought, Zito. I wouldn't answer either if I were you. I wouldn't want to go on record with that. I think both of those quarterbacks make that team better, though. And that Ryan Fitzpatrick thing is something that could really happen. If that owner down there at the Dolphins keeps watching Fitzpatrick will this team to play better football than what he's been trying to do all year, I wouldn't mind seeing them try to get rid of him and have him land in Chicago and really turn that thing around. But like you said, if they don't turn around quick, the Vikings and the Packers are about to run away with this thing, and they got no shot going down the road.
I like Fitzpatrick. I think he does make them better. Guy's tougher than a $2 steak as well. I mean, he's going to put his head down, get some extra yardage. If he stays in Miami, eventually they are going to accidentally win a game. And
That's what Fitzmagic does.
Exactly.
That's what Fitzmagic is.
exactly.
You ever go to a Chris Angel show? Magic's going to happen. You ever go to the guys that had the two tigers that attacked each other?
Siegfried and Roy.
The magic happens. You ever go to a Ryan Fitzpatrick football game? Magic happens. That's just what ipso facto. You put Ryan Fitzpatrick on the field, magic's going to happen at all of his stops. You put him in the XFL, which is only going to pay people $55,000. I'm sure it's going to be great football, by the way. A lot of people have said I'm going to be commentating that.
Yeah, lead commentator.
I have not said that. A lot of other people have said that. I have not said that. That's a lot of conversation. But if you get Fitzpatrick in that league, what's he going to do? Magic. That's just what Ryan Fitzpatrick does. And the Bears, even though their egos are probably not going to let them get past Trubisky, if they want to save his season, it's something they're going to have to do. It's just something you're going to have to do.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins are staring down the barrel right now of potentially winning out if Fitzpatrick continues
You don't
to play.
want that?
No, you don't. Well, Tua did get hurt, so, I mean, maybe everything's just kind of...
By the way, Tua is a righty.
He is.
I learned.
He is, yes.
I've been saying just from my keen eye of college football analyst, which I am, I am a college football analyst professionally. As a profession, I analyze college football,
Correct.
both in public and in private. And when I watched Tua throw a football, it felt like what it looks like with me throwing lefty. He just so happens to have a lot more velocity and a lot more accuracy and a lot more wins and toughness and all that stuff you need. But it's still the form looks the exact same as when I throw. Turns out he was a righty. His dad tied his arm down to make him a lefty. And I'm telling you, it looks like that. It looks like that by the way he throws. But now he's got these back-to-back years here with sprained ankle injuries where they're having surgery mid-season. That's not good for Tua. I think Tua is a heck of a football player, but I don't think he's earned the outright number one pick. I don't think that Air Bear character at Oregon has either. I don't think Jalen Hurts has either. I'm not sure anybody really has other than that Burrow dude down at LSU.
Joe Burrow, yeah.
He seems like the guy who could potentially be it. But none of that matters if Ryan Fitzpatrick fornicates around and gets a win for the Dolphins when they're trying to lose every game.
They will win out. If
They might never lose again.
I mean...
Put Rosen back in the game if you're a Dolphins fan.
Yeah.
We want this guy who has never been good in the NFL back in. Now, that's not Rosen's fault. I think Rosen has fell into some hilarious situations. Have quarterbacks in their skill alone been able to win games for teams in the past? Yes. Yes, that has happened. Rosen has not been able to do that. I still think Rosen could potentially be a good quarterback if he was in a perfect spot. But if you're the Dolphins and you're trying to just lose, Ryan Fitzpatrick's not the guy I want on the football field because that guy will win a game by himself.
That makes sense for the Bears, too, because they have next to no draft capital left. So, I mean, if they give up,
Trade
like
capital.
yeah.
And draft capital.
Well, yeah, both, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but if they give like a fifth-round pick and a seventh-round pick.
Dolphins are jacked.
Exactly.
Okay, we got 45 first-round picks because we got rid of all of our other good players. Now we get rid of the Magic. We pick up another fourth and a fifth, which we can potentially trade in again. I mean, they might have 3 of the first 4 picks in the NFL draft next year. They might get all those quarterbacks and just hope to hit on one of them. But that it could all go away if you let Fitzmagic continue to fornicate around and potentially win a game.
Yeah, I mean... Like
I'm all in on a Magic ending, by the way.
Oh, now you want to talk? Now you want to talk, Cito?
A lot of things going on back here, but I'm all in on this magical ending.
I'll tell you what, there's some boom booms going on around us. I don't know if we've heard this, and we are 50 floors above Earth here in New York City. By the way, first time since 1993, no murders in New York City this
Yeah, let's
weekend.
go.
Let's go. All right, New York. No murders in New York City this past weekend. Is it because Sam Darnold no longer has mono and they're good at football again? Is Sam Darnold the prince of the city? Is Sam Darnold going to keep it within 9.5 tonight? No, is my answer.
Not a chance.
I think the Patriots this evening backdoor cover that thing. It always happens in the fourth quarter. It's always ugly early because the offense doesn't get going for the Patriots. The defense is stout and stingy. Maybe the Jets will get hot, get some points early. Then they'll get up 3, and then that last drive in the fourth quarter, Tom and the boys will walk it down. It'll be 10 points, just like it's nothing. Everybody's like, "Oh, night, how do they know?" It's because that's what Tom Brady does. So tonight, I'm not hammering the Patriots by any means, but I'm definitely picking the Patriots with our friends at FanDuel. I am definitely taking the Patriots tonight to cover 9.5.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think everyone is. I think that's the smart play. Belichick's going to take away. He's going to make Darnold look like a young guy again. I think that's just kind of what Belichick does.
Darnold got better at football after getting mono,
He did.
which is still mind-blowing to me. But if he has a weakness, Bill Belichick's going to expose it.
Exactly.
Bill Belichick probably brought in a doctor who studied mononucleosis for more than anybody else. He's like, all right, well, his left rib cage is probably a little bit weaker, so if you guys get a couple shots on there, the mono comes through there, he's probably in a bad spot.
I mean, I think if anything, the Jets' D does pose some tough matchups for the Pats, but like you said, I mean, they didn't look great against the Giants in prime time, and they still end up beating the hell out of them. It's kind of just what they do.
It's what the Patriots do. I mean, Josh McDaniels, avocado Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick in primetime television. Let's assume they're going to get the win. I think they're going to cover. I'm not hammering it because I don't know enough about this Jets team. They were in the suck fest the first couple of weeks, and then Sam Darnold comes back and they got promise again. So I'm not sure if they'll cover 9.5. I think they will, but we have no idea what the Jets are at this moment. So it's not smart gambling to grab my hammer, which has been undefeated this year, and swing it, because I don't want to do that, because I don't want people to put their money on something I'm not 100% certain of, but I'm feeling very good about the Patriots.
Well, and I think we'll find out a lot more about the Jets tonight, because the Cowboys, that's still kind of the up in the air whether or not. I mean, that win looks a lot more impressive after last night, but we still don't know if they're 100% for real. So if they play well against the Pats tonight, maybe the Jets, are someone to be dealt with.
Cowboys were very injured.
True.
Is what the Cowboys fans would say.
True.
But that Cowboys team last night looked very, very tough to beat.
Mm-hmm.
If they can continue to play that way, and Kellen Moore can continue to dial up some plays with some creativity, I mean, utilizing Tavon Austin in the offense is something I haven't seen all year. Tavon Austin, by the way, 7 years into this thing, a lot of people talking like, oh, it's taken a while for him to be the player that he is. I think you're right. I mean, you're 100% right. He took a punt back to the house against me, 98 yards or something like that, and I just watched him run right by me. He is an explosive dynamite. His college highlights at the West Virginia University were second to none. But if you can start getting creative with the plays, start running the ball with Zeke, and then let Dak work, I think that Cowboys team could be a real problem in the NFC. Nothing on the Packers or Saints, though. And the Niners, I mean, we've got to talk about them. And in the AFC, it's a two-horse race.
Tell them.
Kansas City Chiefs lost Patrick Mahomes. Rest in peace to his knee and his ankle.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dislocated kneecap. That thing's going to hurt a lot more than people think it is, I think. That thing is excruciating pain if you dislocate your kneecap. I did it for 8 weeks. I didn't have to run, though. I just had to walk 3 steps and kick a ball. Even then, I was bedridden after I would do that, just because of how irritated your knee gets whenever your kneecap's just bouncing around in there. So let's go ahead and knock the Chiefs off. Plus, they lost a couple games in a row. The Broncos couldn't get a win. Speaking of the Broncos, no show on Terrell Davis. Appreciate him doing that. Supposed to talk to him 13 minutes ago. I'm sure there's a little lost in translation thing that happened. Was excited to chat with him. Hopefully, we'll reschedule that. We tried to reschedule it. We were told can't reschedule it. Now he knows shows. I respect it. I appreciate it. Let's assume that there's a timing issue that happened. But the Chiefs, let's go ahead and rule them out.
Rule them out.
Just for the time being, overreaction Monday. Let's rule the Chiefs completely out.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the Patriots, and it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. And this is the year that the Indianapolis Colts are built to maybe keep up with the Patriots. I've been saying wherever you can say things at, to people who listen to people who say things, that the Colts are going to win the Super Bowl. That offensive line can win you games late. That defense is now getting healthy and coming together. And Jacoby Brissett is a quarterback that can win games. He's not a game manager. He is a game wrecker. He can throw every single throw. He makes great decisions in that offense. Whether it's Jack Doyle, Eric Ebron, the Detroit Lions' greatest export, Eric Ebron, T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack, Naeem Hines, or Wilkins, you name it. With that offensive line, that offense is going to be a weapon. In the defense, with the defensive rookie of the year calling game last night with the pick, I mean, that team's coming together nicely. You got the greatest ball kicker of all time kicking balls, plus Rigoberto Sanchez, who is an incredible punter. I like the Colts a lot, but it's going to be Colts and Patriots. What will happen? Will it be in Foxborough? Will it be in Indianapolis? It doesn't matter, because the Colts are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Mark it down. Shout out to Terrell Davis for not joining us in his first hour, 10:55. Going to have to get to a break here. New tunes from Foxy and the boys in the back. Hour 2 on the other side with maybe Brian Westbrook and definitely Johnny Hecker. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
Never let go. Hold my hand and save your soul. Save your soul. Don't let the sun go down. Don't let the sun go down. Don't let the sun go down on our love. in my mind. I can't find love, love, never let me go, never let me go, no, never let me go. Love can never let me go, never let me go. Love, love, never let me go, never let me go, no, never let me go. Love can never let me go, never let me go from your love. Hold my hand and never let go, never let go. Hold my hand and save your soul, save your soul. Don't let the sun go down, don't let the sun go down, don't let the sun go down on our love. Inside and out, upside and down, head in the maze, heart on the ground, on the ground. I was angry before, but I circled the drain in my mind. I can't find love, love, never let me go, never let me go, no, never let me go. Love can never let me go, never let me go. Love, love, never let me go, never let me go, no, never let me go. Love can never let me go, never let me go from your love. Be my, I am dreamer. I am hold my hand and never let go, never let go. Hold my hand and save your soul, save your soul. Don't let the sun go down, don't let the sun go down, don't let the sun go down on our love. Inside and out, upside and down, head in the maze, heart on the ground, on the ground. I was angry before, but I circled the drain in my mind. I can't find love, love, never let me go, never let me go, no, never let me go. Love can never let me go, never let me go. Love, love, never let me go, never let me go, no, never let me go. Love can never let me go, never let me go from your love. Be my, I am dreamer. I am dreamer. I
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Out of your medication, 2 hours of magic, let's give it a go. Ladies ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice. Thank you so much for that incredible introduction. He is on tour. If he's in your town, go ahead and check him out. He's an incredibly talented musician. I am Pat McAfee, sitting alongside the incredible, the incomparable Packers owner, Ty Schmidt. Ty, how are you?
I'm doing great. Always easy to wake up on Monday feeling good when you put on an absolute piss pounding of a different team.
That is what the Packers did yesterday. The Packers might be the hottest team in the NFL at the moment. The offense, LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are coming full circle. The defense is eating, and that Packers team looks like they're unstoppable. Much like we've been saying this entire year, the NFC representative in the Super Bowl is the Packers in our eyes. It might be the Niners, whose defense is absolutely dominant yesterday in a 9-0 victory. Shout out to Robbie Gould being all the way back in a downpour in Washington, which is, by the way, a little metaphoric there for that Redskins organization.
It is.
Everything was coming down. That organization stinks. They're so bad. But there are only 2 scores out of it against the Niners, who are undefeated. Also, the New Orleans Saints and Teddy Bridgewater, who has led them to an undefeated record in the absence of Drew Brees. Yesterday, in the absence of Alvin Kamara, somehow Teddy Bridgewater is keeping the Saints in conversation for home field advantage through the playoffs, which will be massive because the NFC playoff field looks like one that's going to be awesome to watch. I think it's going to be the Packers. A lot of people think differently. I don't know. It should be fun. And in the AFC... Oh, well, I guess we can't chat about the NFC playoffs without mentioning, because we actually have to.
No, yeah, you're contractually obligated to do so.
Much like every other talk show on this here planet that is bigger than just 1 or 2 cities, if you're simulcasted globally and you're syndicated on the radio across the country, it is in your contract. There's a clause. It's called a Jerry clause, a J clause, a D clause. We have to talk about the Dallas Cowboys first 15 minutes, last 15 minutes, especially when the team shows up in a way that we all thought they were potentially going to at the beginning of the season. They played yesterday like the hype that was built for them at the beginning of the year. Dak Prescott was doing things that big-time football IQ guys can do. Leaders of teams can do things. He was checking out of bad situations for his offense. He was fighting Malcolm Jenkins and the boys. He was leading that offense in beautiful fashion that had some trickery, had some creativity. Kellen Moore looked like a veteran play caller. Jason Garrett said, hey, it is 0-0, play like hell each and every single play. He felt the fire getting a little closer to those ass cheeks, I think, going into this week, and they put on an absolute clinic against the Philadelphia Eagles. But was that the Dallas Cowboys being healthy and playing their best football that we've seen thus far, or was it that the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely stink? We don't know. We don't know. The Cowboys go into a bye week. Let's assume Dak Prescott's deal gets done during this bye week. He was a 4th-round draft pick, has been a starter since day one. That means he's making next to no money, aside from like that Greek yogurt commercial that he made, and maybe the Bell one that he was in, worst commercial of all time.
Yep.
What's that, Bell? Salvation Army? Where he was with Tostitos, I think. Every donation, they ring that bell, ding, 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 ding. Everybody at Salvation Army hated him. Dak Prescott has not gotten broken off yet, and he's been the starter for America's team for 4 straight years as a 4th-round pick every single play. I think it's about time you got to pay him, especially after what he did last night. A lot of fans of the Cowboys told me I was very wrong for judging Dak Prescott, for saying Dak Prescott is not the guy you should be paying a lot of money to. He's not the guy of the future. They all told me I was wrong, and I think last night I got a glimpse into why they believe that. He looked damn good. But, once again, is that because he looked good and they were healthy? Or because that Eagles team stinks?
Well, they're 4-3. He's been incredibly inconsistent. Does that warrant giving him $35 to $40 million a year? I mean, are you sure that this is the guy you want to give all that money to?
Hey, it's not my money. Give him $100 million a year. If Jerry wants to give him $100 million, I hope he gets rich. I hope he gets broken off. And I hope, to be honest with you, I hope the Cowboys play like that through the rest of the year. Because once again, we will say, we are forced to watch the Dallas Cowboys. Whether you like it or not, the Dallas Cowboys are going to be on national TV every single week. Dallas Cowboys have a massive fan base. Jerry Jones holds a lot of power in the TV rights negotiations. So we're going to see the Cowboys I would like it if they continue to play very good football, because last night watching them was a lot of fun. I mean, that was an awesome game to watch.
Yeah, it was. My only question is, and I think this is more for Cowboys fans, if they end up going like 9-7, is that just a bygones be bygones with Jason Garrett? Like, I mean, the guy's a stooge. There's no.
Whoa.
He is. I mean, I don't think they're ever going to win a Super Bowl with him. Do you think if they go 9-7 and have like a first round exit out of the playoffs, do they still hold on to him?
Well, he's been 8-8, I think, 3 times, working on his 4th year. Jerry Jones says he loves Jason Garrett, never thought about anything. Now, granted, we asked a lot of questions last week. Did Jerry Jones lose his edge? Mm-hmm. Because he was letting his team that had high hopes and a lot of talent stink and let Jason Garrett just kind of do whatever he wanted to do. So we asked, did Jerry Jones lose his edge? We proposed that question to the internet. We also proposed, if Cam Newton was available, would you rather have him in Dallas instead of Dak? We got attacked for asking those questions.
Sure.
John Daly called my phone twice. Mm-hmm. Normally, it's a one phone call if he's having a good time thinking about me, like to chat. But as soon as we asked that question about Jerry Jones losing his edge, I got 2 phone calls that night from John Daly, who's noted Cowboys fan.
Oh, yeah, Woo Pig Suey.
Woo.
Goes way back.
Pig Suey. So once I got that, I was like, oh, I might have touched a nerve here. I might have touched a nerve here. And we didn't say that Jerry Jones lost his edge. We were just wondering, has he? One of the best football minds in the history of football. One of the best businessmen in the history of business. Nobody can knock the business acumen of Jerry Jones. Nobody can knock the success that the Cowboys had decades ago. Mm-hmm. Nobody can knock any of these things, but what you could knock is the fact that Jerry Jones has let very mediocre, very average football teams represent the Cowboys for the last couple of years. Maybe decades, someone would argue.
Yeah, they've been complacent for the last, 10 years, it seems like.
But maybe Jerry knew that this team had potential, had the ability, but they just weren't performing up to that. And if they won't perform up to that stuff on a regular basis, whose fault is that? Some would argue it's the head coach. Some would argue it's the players. Whatever the case, Jerry Jones was letting it happen. Then last night, on a grandest stage of them all, #1 television show for 8 straight years, by the way.
Yeah, unreal.
That is incredible. Shout out to Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels. A lot of people hate them. I love them.
So do I.
I think they do an incredible job, but they're forced on your television every single Sunday night, whether you like it or not. So some people are going to hate them. Some people aren't. I'm a big fan. Congrats to them for 8 years running to be a #1 show. But on the biggest stage, that Dallas Cowboys team played to their absolute capacity. Mm-hmm. The best they could put, running the ball, passing the ball. The defense was swarming and turning the ball over. Special teams, they kicked a 63-yarder. Chris Jones was bombing balls. Everything was clicking for the Dallas Cowboys. That is what the Dallas Cowboys can do. That is why Dallas Cowboys fans are so far behind Dak Prescott. That is why Jerry Jones refused to make a move. But that is also the reason why when they lose, we all question if Jason Garrett is worth a single damn or not.
Exactly.
Because if that's what the team can do, and then every other week they're a different team, it's like, come on, we got to get some consistency. Let's see if this is the Cowboys for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and again, we look at the teams that they have beat and the teams they've lost to. There's still nothing really says like, oh, these guys are going to be able to go out and compete with, the Titans of the NFC right now. And
Not the Tennessee Titans. You're talking like the
the upper crust of the NFC.
Yeah, you're talking figuratively, not literally.
Correct. So, and especially if they aren't playing in Dallas. I mean, they play much better at home than they do anywhere else. So, we'll see. I don't know. I just don't trust them yet.
Speaking of playing at home, Teddy Bridgewater is setting the Saints up to potentially play at home during the playoffs, which is massive for the New Orleans Saints. That Superdome is a tough place to play. Listen, I used to frequent a lot of bars back in my day. Mm-hmm. I'd buy a lot of shots for a lot of people, hundreds at a time, some would say. I have never seen a rowdier group of drunks than at that Superdome. That Superdome is filled with 60,000 drunks wearing costumes ready to lose their minds for the New Orleans Saints for 4 quarters of football. If this thing goes to overtime, we still got the juice. They got a guy named Whistleman who wears a whistle on his head but whistles with his lips that is absolutely piercing. The Who Dat Nation is a real thing. That is a very difficult place to go in there and get a win. But with Teddy Bridgewater winning these games as opposed to losing them, they are set up to have home field advantage, where in another situation, in another life, if Teddy Bridgewater loses a couple of these games that everybody expected him to lose by.
Right.
There's a couple, yesterday, without Kamara, without Drew Brees, without a lot of people, everybody would have been completely okay if Teddy Bridgewater loses that game. They're like, he did a fine job. Instead, he wins. But if he loses a couple of these games and the NFC runs through San Fran or runs through Green Bay, I think it's a much different world for Drew Brees and the Saints. But now that they still have the chance to have home field advantage if Teddy keeps winning, That's a big deal for the NFC, big deal for the Saints. And I think everybody else kind of got to be on notice that when their backup quarterback is playing better than most people's starter, you got to really wonder how smart Sean Payton is. Big old brain on that guy down there. The Saints look like a team that could be tough to handle.
Yeah, without a doubt. Do you think that if after the season, what Teddy Bridgewater's done right now, do you think someone's going to throw the farm at him trying to get him to come start, or do you think he'll just kind of lay in the weeds until Breeze is done in New Orleans?
I think people have.
Yeah, I mean, you could. He's done more for his stock than almost any other player in the NFL.
I think. Kirk Cousins' stock has gone up here in the last.
That's true.
Weeks, but
that's true. You're welcome, Kirk.
Are you going to apologize to Kirk Cousins, by the way?
No, like I said, I want the thanks for letting a fire under his ass. You know, maybe we'll see what Trubisky does the next couple weeks. I'm going to start coming at him pretty good. So
Kirk Cousins and that Vikings offense look absolutely incredible.
Guess what? You can't say anything when he goes out there and lights it up. He played incredible yesterday. I'm not going to say anything. I mean, but also
he's been dropping balls in the bucket. Stephon Diggs and Thielen have been making plays for him too. It's almost like those three bet on themselves. Whenever you have a public meltdown or a public outcry, and then you back it up, that has to be one of the most gratifying feelings. I mean, Stephon Diggs skipped the practice. They fined him $200,000. Thielen comes out saying our offensive system stinks. Kirk Cousins' show becomes the #1 show in Minneapolis because they had to kind of handle it all. But then they had a kumbaya sesh with Zimmer where they were like, listen, we very much understand that what you guys want to do, we're going to try and do that. And if it doesn't work, know that we're going to be on your ass. Now, Dalvin Cook rushing for 142 yards. Stephon Diggs making big-time catches. Thielen has got a hurt hammy, also making big plays, and Kirk Cousins is throwing the rock down the field. They bet on themselves with that public meltdown, and it's paying off for them. Teddy Bridgewater also bet on himself. I think he could have won other places to be a starter. Instead, he gets the highest salary for a backup quarter in New Orleans, and when they need him, he's shown up. And I think that's big news for Teddy Bridgewater. I think Drew Brees only has a year or two left, depending on how much they win. I think he's back for another Super Bowl. Could it be this year? Could it be tough to beat the Packers? And the Colts. 11-13. We got to get to a break because on the other side, we have the incomparable Brian Westbrook, I think. I think we have Brian Westbrook.
we're supposed to have him.
We're supposed to have Terrell Davis in the first hour. No idea what happened. Didn't get him. Now we got Brian Westbrook and then elite quarterback Johnny Hecker, who I think the Bears would take tomorrow to play quarterback if it could. He's a little busy punting balls for the Rams. 11-13, Overreaction Monday, October 21st. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
And I'm gonna chase it. And I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it. And I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. Fire in the veins, I fight to gain, breaking all the rules to keep me sane. Living the moment till I die. And I'm gonna chase it. And I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it. And I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. No matter how hard we try. Living the moment till I die. And I'm gonna chase it. And I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't Just when looking at you, open up my eyes, and I'll stay with you forever all the time. And I'm stepping out to leave it all behind.
Hey.
I'm confident your love will be my side. Just when looking at you, open up my eyes, and I'll stay with you forever all the time. And I'm stepping out to leave it all behind. I'm confident your love will be my side. Hold out your hand, yeah. Every day you're with me when I
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. A little Nope Malone there.
You got big things coming, part of
A little knockoff Post Malone. I can respect that. Joining us now is a man who's a multi-time All-Pro, multi-time Pro Bowler, a man who's in the Eagles Hall of Fame. We'll be excited to get his take on that Philadelphia Eagles disaster last night. Legend of a man, running back, Brian Westbrook.
Good morning, Pat. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm incredible. How are you doing this morning, boss man?
I'm not doing very well. My team went on national TV, Sunday Night Football, the only game in town, and got stomped by the Cowboys, who had just lost 3 in a row. So I'm not doing very well, but I'll find a way to rebound.
As an Eagles Hall of Famer, you heard Doug Peterson guarantee a win, then he kind of backed off of that. I heard Lane Johnson after the game said a lot of players weren't showing up on time to meetings. They were late to this, they were late to that. It was a wake-up call. How do you feel about the state of the Eagles right now, especially after getting stomped and with all the little things kind of going awry behind the scenes as well?
Well, I don't feel very good, and I don't know how anybody could feel very good at all. I mean, just 2 years ago, obviously they won the Super Bowl. And the big talk at that point was a culture of the locker room, the character of the locker room. That's what continued to drive them. And 2 years later, with many of the same exact players, this team looks like a team that doesn't have any culture, that doesn't have any character. When you hear these things about guys missing meetings and being late, things like that, that just talks about who's in charge there. Is Doug Peterson in charge? Are the players in charge? Who is holding these guys accountable? And then when you see a game against a Dallas Cowboys team who has lost 3 games in a row, just like I mentioned earlier, that you know that you're going to be fighting against to win a division, and you go out there and you put that on tape, you put that on TV, a 37-10 beatdown, that just doesn't speak to a team that's very well coached at this point, that's playing very well. And, you know, in big games like that, you expect your big-time players to play well. On offense, I point to Carson Wentz, who didn't have a great game. On defense, I point to Malcolm Jenkins, who got ran over for a touchdown, or almost a touchdown from Zeke, and Fletcher Cox, who only had 1 tackle, which was a sack on the entire night. I point to those guys. And if you're talking about teams that play well, especially in primetime games, it's because their primetime players are playing well. And right now, the best players on our Philadelphia Eagles football team are not playing very well.
Okay, so you mentioned it there as a guy who ran over Malcolm Jenkins and had a big-time night. It seemed like earlier in the year they weren't feeding him. He sat out. He went to Mexico, kind of utilizing some leverage. What do you think about Ezekiel Elliott and his play style?
Well, I love Zeke. I love the way that he runs. I think, you know, last year he looked a little bit more quicker to me as far as his lateral quickness and his agility. But I think he's rounding into the player that I think everyone knows him to be, the guy that has carried this Dallas Cowboy offense his entire career. He's a guy that you hand the ball off to 25 times in the league where there's not very many volume backs, not very many teams that are going to give their running back the ball 20, 25 times a game. The Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott have continued to be that way. He continues to lead that offense. The main reason why they're successful is because of his ability to run the ball. And then Dak can do a lot of play action stuff, a lot of misdirection stuff behind that. But they have to begin with being able to run the football. And Ezekiel Elliott has been everything that this team has asked him to be, especially when healthy and on track, when he's not missing time because he's in Cabo in the offseason.
I feel bad saying this because you're an Eagles Hall of Famer, and I look up to you, and I have a lot of respect for you. But the Eagles stink. I mean, the Cowboys are going to be the NFC East representative. That NFC, though, looks like it is a tall task for anybody to get to the Super Bowl. You talk about the Saints, without Drew Brees, have been undefeated. You talk about the Green Bay Packers, who look hot, and the Niners, that defense looks very stout. How do you see the NFC shaping up through the rest of the season?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's a bunch of teams that look good. And I kind of would throw the Minnesota Vikings, whose defense didn't look great yesterday. But I think for some reason, offensively, they can get going pretty quickly with Dalvin Cook and those 2 receivers. Hopefully, Thielen is healthy enough to play coming soon with Diggs and Thielen there. But I think that if you have to go to Minnesota and play, that's a tough task as well. But you're absolutely right. the NFC East is very stacked. You have some quarterbacks that are playing out of their mind right now, and we talk about Aaron Rodgers and Teddy Bridgewater. Then you have some defenses that are just playing crazy, like the San Francisco 49ers. And so there's a bunch of teams that have a chance. To me, it's going to come down to this. Who's healthy enough? And we're still in October. To me, when Andy Reid brought us up through the organization, he said whoever's hot in November and December, those are the teams that would advance in the playoffs. And so I know a lot of these teams are hot right now, and that's good to see. However, you got to be hot at the right time of the season, and we'll see who's going to be hot in the latter part of November going into December. That will determine who will be able to win that NFC East, or really NFC as far as that conference as well.
Okay, we saw that with a lot of teams. I mean, the Giants are just the first thing to pop in my head. That was absolutely garbage throughout the season. Then December, November, they get hot, go on to win the Super Bowl. Have you seen a lot of these younger players play? And what do you think about the turning of the tide when it's becoming a younger man's game, it feels like?
Well, I love it. We're looking at young guys that are just doing awesome. You look at Kyler Murray going to the New York Giants, even though the Giants are very good. The Cardinals aren't very good either, but he found a way to win with their football team there. When you look at what Lamar Jackson is doing on the road in Seattle, tough place to play, his ability to throw the ball down the field efficiently, but also give that threat with the run. And he's literally one of the best running backs, quote unquote, in the league because of his ability to run down the field, make people miss, and continue to keep going and expose defenses that way. I love the way that some of these young players around the league continue to play. It's exciting. Josh Jacobs out there in Oakland. I mean, he is a man-possessed, full-time volume running back that can get it done on any level as far as the run plays. And so, yeah, it's a young man's league. And I expect this. You expect this every couple of years, some young guys to come in there and to make their mark on the league. And we've seen it over these last couple of years. A lot of these young guys are doing very well, and that's good. That's good for the NFL.
I don't know why this just popped in my head. This is why I'm the dumbest human. Did you ever meet Vince Papale over there at the Eagles? And is that a true story?
Of course. I have met Vince. Unvincible. Of course, I've met Vince. And, I think some of it was true. I think a lot of it was true. But, and any good story, you gotta play it up a little bit. So I think a lot of it was true. Most of it probably was true. But to make a good story, you got to add a little bit of yeast into it to make it fluff up just a bit.
I like to hear that Invincible was filled with a little bit of a yeast infection. I could respect that. Philadelphia, some of the greatest fans in the history of the sport. I mean, when they won a Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years, they lost their mind. But right now, it just feels like they're all turning to the Sixers, and old Ben Simmons finally has a jumper. Is the year completely lost for the Eagles? Is it time to look forward into the future, or do you think they're still salvageable here?
Well, I still think there's a chance that they can salvage something from the season. Again, you have to play Dallas again. I think that after we get through Buffalo, Chicago, and the Patriots, which is 3 games that we certainly have the potential to lose, I think our schedule, as far as the Eagles' schedule, kind of dials back a little bit. But when I look at, the Cowboys' schedule, they still have to play Minnesota. They still have to play Detroit, New England. They got to play Buffalo, Chicago, the Rams, and then Philly again in Week 16. And so they have a pretty tough schedule ahead of them. So there is a chance that the Cowboys come back to the pack a little bit. And here's the deal. They have 1-game lead on the Eagles at this point because of last night. And so there certainly is a chance. There's a chance that the Eagles can get better. Here's the hard part for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not just the way that they played against the Cowboys. It's the way that they played all season long. When I look at some of the teams that have just scored points on them on their defense, I think about this. Look, just check this out. First half points allowed by the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Week 1, 20. These are first half points. Week 2, 10. Week 3, 20. Week 4, 20. Week 5, you played against Luke Falk and the Jets, and they were just bad. They didn't score any. Week 6, 24. First half points. Week 7, 27. First half points. I mean, it's hard to win if teams are scoring that many points in the entire game against you. But when you combine slow starts by your offense for the Eagles and your defense giving up a bunch of first-half points, it's just hard to come back from that. And so, yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are only up by 1 game on the Eagles at this point. However, the Eagles have to play much, much better than they've been playing here recently, offensively and defensively. And I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they get better with making explosive plays down the field, absent making a huge trade or getting Deshaun Jackson back, who's been out since week 1. I don't know how they get better defensively, absent making a huge trade for a cornerback, or finding a way to attack the quarterback, which they haven't done all season long. And so there's a lot of things that they could do much better. I just don't see those things happening as the season continues to go on.
Brian, final couple things here. It has been said that inside the locker room, Eagles players are not happy that the Eagles didn't make a play for Jalen Ramsey or Marcus Peters. Do you find that to be accurate?
I mean, if I was in a locker room, I wouldn't be happy. I mean, we just talked about it. I just mentioned how bad the secondary has played. And, they're giving up big plays down the field all the time. Big throws down the field, double moves on Rasul Douglas, double moves on Jalen Mills, who just came back from injury yesterday, double moves on Ronald Darby, who pretty much whatever cornerback they put out there, they've gotten beat. And so, of course, if you can go get one of the best in the league in Jalen Ramsey or one of the best in the league in Marcus Peters, of course you want to make that move. And if I was on that football team, I would be disappointed as well, because these are guys that can help us get over that hump to that place where we want to be. And unfortunately, we didn't make the trade for him. And, Marcus Peters got traded for a linebacker. I mean, so I know he's a little bit of a distraction as far as inside the locker room, but he got traded for a linebacker. You could have certainly made that trade and try to make it work. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people in that locker room, a lot of fans outside of that locker room feel the exact same way.
Brian, based off what we saw at the end of last year and so far this year, do you think the Eagles are in a better position or would be in a better position if they still had Foles as opposed to Wentz, or do you think the issues with the defense kind of supersede everything else?
That's a good question. A lot of people are asking that. A lot of people continue to say that. I think talent-wise, Carson is much better than Nick Foles. And it comes down to playing and all those different things. Nick did a really good job. I think Carson, even if Nick was here, that Carson probably would still be the best choice just because he's so much more talented. He has so much more arm talent. He has so much more athletic ability. I think that they have some issues outside of the quarterback position that are causing a lot of the losses. Again, Carson hasn't been great. I want Carson Wentz to be that elevator. I want him to be that difference maker that makes everyone around him better. I don't think we've seen the best of Carson Wentz all season long, to be honest with you. I just don't know that Nick Foles, with this cast of characters, with this lack of explosive players offensively, will be the answer either. So hopefully I answered that question. I just think this team, as far as talent-wise, is not very good at this particular moment. And in order to fix that, you have to draft better, or you have to figure out a way to trade for a lot of much more talented athletic players, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Well, Brian, I think they need you back in that locker room with a little bit of leadership. Eagles Hall of Famer, ladies and gentlemen, incredible interview. I can't thank you enough for stopping by. Brian Westbrook, thank you, man, so much.
Thanks, Pat. Talk soon.
Hey, he was really good.
He was.
He was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's just pulling those stats out of thin air, but he was just listing off these things. That was absolutely magical from Brian Westbrook. We'll have Johnny Hecker on the other side of the break. It is 11:31, Monday, October 21st. I go run to the bathroom, which is on the other side of World Trade. We'll be back with some more heat. Big thanks to Brian Westbrook. That was awesome. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. 11:36 here on this Monday, October 21st. Big shout out to Brian Westbrook just joining us, breaking down all things NFC, Philadelphia Eagles. And that Vince Papale is a real person, although the story was fake and invincible.
Yeah, the only thing they don't tell you is instead of running down there and making a special teams tackle, he probably got ear-holed, got a concussion, was done after that.
Speaking of guys that don't get ear-holed and don't get concussions, a man who is an all-pro, and just yesterday he showcased once again that he is one of the biggest freak athletes on a field, no matter where he walks. Ladies and gentlemen, game changer, game wrecker, punter for the Los Angeles Rams, Johnny Hekker.
Hey, yo, guys. How we doing?
I'm excellent. How are you doing, Mr. Hekker? Incredible ball yesterday by you.
Hey, thank you. It's easy. We'll dump into the flats, let the fast guys do the rest. But I do have to say one thing before we get going. My wife says hello. She's a huge fan of you and the show. So Michaela Hekker is saying hello to you from California.
Well, Michaela Hekker, I appreciate you having incredibly good taste. I should have known that when you married one of the best punters to ever punt a football in the history in Mr. Hekker. I appreciate the Hekker family. I believe you have a beautiful baby as well. Am I accurate with that?
Yeah, little son. He's a year and a half, and he is already punting stuff, Pat. It's ridiculous.
Well, if he takes anything like his father, he's going to be very tall, very athletic, and absolutely slaughter footballs. Let's talk about you saying yesterday's pass was an easy dump, because there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL right now that would have missed him by a quarter mile. When you go into a game, and the Rams, you guys seem to have more fakes than most people. Is there a Rolodex or fakes, or is it just one per week? Let's see if the situation arises.
Yeah. I mean, it's really we have a few kind of in our playbook, and we kind of look and see what the opposing guys do matchup wise, and we pick our shots. We go in with maybe two highlighted that we like, and then we're able to kind of get in and out of them at our leisure. So we take the field with them and have kills and have activation. So there's really any time we can roll with one.
That's incredible. That's Bones, right? Big Bones, special teams coordinator, has worked very well with you. Am I accurate with that?
Yeah, Coach Foss. I've been super lucky to be with him. All 8 years of my career, him, Greg, and Jake. We've all been together. I think the only other group that's been together the same amount of time is the Ravens with Tucker, Morgan Cox, and Sam. So it's a huge honor, and the guy is definitely the driving force of why we have productive special teams year in and year out.
Well, I think he's very lucky to have you as his punter as well. You were a quarterback in high school. Were you a quarterback in college as well, or is that whenever you decided just to kick balls?
No, I was not. So I walked on to Oregon State to hopefully work my way into the quarterback room. They'd see me punting one day and then throw the ball back. Hey, maybe this guy can play some quarterback. They had pipe dreams. They had 6 quarterbacks on scholarship, 0 punters. So I walked on and ended up earning a scholarship that way because I knew I wasn't going to pay out-of-state tuition for a couple of years to just sit there and pretend to play quarterback. So had to do something worthwhile for the team.
Okay, so anytime you touch the ball, nobody knows. I would like to ask a technical question that might be too inside baseball for people to understand. You were a little bit longer than a standard shotgun, but you were closer than the punt. Is that because the long snapper, it's a lot harder to snap the ball shorter whenever you have 2 hands on the ball?
You know what? I really didn't realize what depth I was at. I was supposed to be a little closer to the ball. I kind of just stopped whenever it felt right. And, yeah, I mean, I'm usually supposed to be around 5. I might have been at 7. So somewhere in between there. And, you never want to be too close and give guys an opportunity to knock down a pass at the line of scrimmage, getting their hands up.
I thought I had a tell on you, honestly. As soon as I watched it, I was like, oh, he's a little bit deeper. Maybe he's going to punt it from this formation, steal a couple yards off the back end. You know what I'm talking about, Hekker?
Maybe that's a variable that we could throw in, a wrinkle that we could throw in, the not-so-deep punt.
I like that.
Boost the yardage a couple yards, get those maybe 6 or 7 back.
Let's talk about your Rams team, shall we?
Let's do it.
Last year, you guys were in the Super Bowl. Incredible run, incredible operation. Obviously, you ultimately lose to the Patriots. This year, things have been up and down, up and down. Nobody knows what to expect from the Los Angeles Rams. You have Aaron Donald picking humans up that are professional athletes and throwing them around like they're children. Jared Goff, kind of hit or miss season thus far, but nobody knows. Todd Gurley is getting saved because of his degenerate knee issue, and Sean McVay never, ever breaks, no matter if it's in the face of adversity or after a big win. He seems to be the same guy. What is the story of the Rams season thus far this year inside the locker room?
I mean, yeah, it's been adverse. We've had a great start, jumping out to 3-0, and then really hitting a tough stretch there. Three really tough losses, games that we were in, and had a couple things gone our way. We could have won all three of those, but a lot of games, are more games are lost than are won in the NFL, and you hurt yourself with turnovers and just doing things uncharacteristic of yourself. So really just had some adversity, and we're hoping to get things rolling the right way. Got the win in Atlanta, which is, first off, it's great to leave that stadium with a win finally, and we're looking forward to going to London and hopefully taking care of business against the Bengals.
So did you guys go from Atlanta back to L.A. and then back to London?
No. So we did this 2 years ago. We went and played in Jacksonville and then stayed in Jacksonville for the week to kind of lessen the travel and just make it, a quicker trip over to London. So we're going to stay in Atlanta, then train and then head over on Thursday. So that way, we're only adjusting 5 hours. We're not going from L.A. all the way over there in the 8-hour swing. So it's just like kind of a super West Coast to East Coast trip, I guess, if you look at it like that.
Yeah, I didn't have any success in London. I thought it was a completely different world. How do you feel about those London games? Do you think they should enhance going forward? Do you think there should be more of them? Or do you think there should be less of this type of operation?
It's tough, and part of our deal with moving back to LA was we have to give up one home game every year for an international game. So this is thankfully the last season of that agreement. So we're going to be, wrapping up our London tour here, but it'll be, nice. The trips are just hard logistically on everybody. I mean, it's not just getting players to and from, but it's getting equipment over there. It's dealing with customs and getting all the things that you're used to having at your home facility over there. And, it's just a big throw off, but that's why you got to be the mentally tougher team. And hopefully that just gives you that much more of an advantage come Sunday.
I think it's good for the game, though, to have the Europeans experience kind of, and the people that are Americans based in Europe to see a live game. I think it's good for the growth of the game, but I do believe it's very difficult logistically. Going forward, are you an NFLPA rep?
I am, yes.
Okay, so we're going into this new CBA. Roger Goodell comes out and says that it feels like conversations are going much better than they were 10 years ago. A deal might be done by December, no later than March. There's a lot of talking points, including the 17-game season, which I've been a proponent of for a long time. Add an extra bye week. It'll be a win-win for everybody. More money, more games, more rest. It seems like a win-win-win. Are these types of conversations happening between the NFLPA reps, or is this all above your head?
Yeah, it's kind of above my head. I think we have the player council. Those are the guys that are really, putting feet to the street and are engaged in those meetings and stuff like that. So the smarter guys, the smarter of us are, at the table, talking and negotiating and really they're bringing back the pertinent information to the rest of the player reps and kind of letting us know kind of what's worth learning more about and what's kind of just kind of talk and what's being floated out there. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's being said that's really hard, hard pushes that the league wants, that we want, but really I haven't seen much movement either way.
All right, well, Mr. Hecker, I hope you enjoy the hell out of Atlanta this week. It's nice to get a win. Safe travels over to London town, and man, every time you touch a football, I enjoy watching it because of how damn talented you are, not only with your arm as an elite quarterback, who could probably start for about 10 teams in the NFL right now if you wanted to, but also your leg. You're incredible, brother. I
appreciate it, Pat, and I want to let you know, man, there's no greater moment than getting back to your phone after a game and seeing that you made a Pat McAfee breakdown. I'm sure a lot of fans can hear that right.
I'm sorry, I've been getting lazy, man. I've been getting lazy on those Sundays. I don't yell at my phone as much. I'm gonna have to bring them back.
You're a little busy. We all get it. But just know that there are a lot of specials out there that you're making some Sundays special.
Oh, Johnny, that means so much. Ladies and gentlemen, all-pro quarterback and punter for the Los Angeles Rams, Johnny Hecker. What a guy, dude. He's a very good punter, too.
He is, and he wouldn't say it, but people are saying that he is the best quarterback in Los Angeles, regardless of team.
You think he's better than Phillip Rivers? I mean, who says no?
That's what people are saying. We're not saying it.
We're not saying it.
A lot of people are saying that Johnny Hecker is the best quarterback in Los Angeles.
I enjoyed him because you got a little peek inside the locker room there when he talked about that stretch of losses where they had. We're like, hey, we had a little bit of adversity. That really did happen. And that team, now granted, the St. Louis Rams and the Los Angeles Rams have experienced adversity before, but the team that they built in recent history did not experience a lot of adversity. That team kind of ran and did whatever the hell they wanted to do. Get rid of Marcus. That's what I forgot to ask about. Damn it.
getting rid of Marcus Peters and getting Jalen Ramsey?
Well, I wanted to talk about how, man. Call him back. Zito, call him back.
Calling him right now.
Call him back, Zito. This is starting to become a staple of our show where I forget to ask him something. I want to hear, because the entire team was selling how good of a guy Marcus Peters was. And I wonder if that's because they knew that the outside reps could be saying, like, hey, this is a bad guy, can't fit in anywhere. Everybody inside that facility was selling how good of a guy Marcus Peters was. Like, heck of a teammate, good guy in the community, all this stuff. It's sad to see him go, even though Brian Westbrook said they only traded him for like a linebacker. It felt like that was a real effort from the locker room. Like, hey, this is our guy. We got to take care of him from a public image standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously he does himself wonders by going out and performing well on Sunday. So, I mean, that's an interesting situation for sure.
Jalen Ramsey also had a big-time play. I mean, he's proven himself to an entirely new city, a new organization, new coaching staff, new team. Zito just asked me to text him the number. We don't have the callback number, and we don't have the ability to call back, which...
The redial is not working for some reason.
Oh, I mean, that's just kind of the way our operation is. You know what I mean? I mean, you just kind of got to hopefully that we can get, I hope we can get him back. I just sent it into the PMI group. I mean, hopefully he's in there. But I would like to ask him about if they talked about that. Like, hey, our guy got traded. We must protect him. We must protect Marcus Peters. The NFC, the Rams, I think, coming into the season, I just assumed that the Rams are going to be able to do the same thing that they did last year.
Yeah.
I think everybody assumed that the Rams are going to be able to dominate. But instead now in the NFC West, we're talking about two different teams. We're talking about the Niners and the Niners and the Seahawks. It's almost like the Rams are an afterthought at this point. And I don't know if they like that, enjoy that, or hate that. I have no idea. But this Rams team has not looked exactly like they did last year. But who knows who's going to get hot late. And that team is filled with talent.
Yeah, they are, but I mean, same deal. They got to turn it around and turn it around quick because they're in kind of the same situation the Bears are in the NFC North, where they got these two teams above them who are winning and playing very well. And if they drop one or two more games here, they might be in a position where too little, too late.
These wild card spots are going to be highly sought. You're going to have a very good record to get these wild card spots. I don't. Much like society. Mm-hmm. It feels like we are a very top-heavy and bottom-heavy league, kind of knocking out the middle class.
Exactly.
There's really nobody here that's kind of floating along. You're either very good or very bad. Now, granted, the Colts have 2 losses, and they're kind of in the middle there. Johnny, you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Hey, I forgot to ask you this question, and I'm happy you answered the phone here.
You got it.
When Marcus Peters was traded away, it seemed like a concerted effort by everybody to talk about the type of teammate he was. Were you guys worried that people were going to bury him because he's gotten traded again from another team?
No, I don't think it was about that. I think it was about more just showing the respect and the appreciation for what he did for us. I think Marcus is a pretty misunderstood character, like across the NFL. So just being able to show how much we really cared for him and really loved him as a teammate and a guy, and just really had nothing but well wishes for him. I mean, it's difficult, to see a person that you really like getting traded, and you wonder how they feel on the inside, thinking, oh, does this team even value me or what? But just knowing, just kind of sending out that message that, what, we really cared for him and we appreciate all he did for us, and just wishing him nothing but luck. And he got that pick 6 last night, and we had a team full of guys that were pumped up for him out here in Atlanta.
Because it's very interesting, because whenever you end up on your 3rd team in 5 years, it'd be very easy as an outside voice to say, oh, this guy can't fit in anywhere. And then whenever I saw you, a lot of your teammates and even coaches come out and say, like, no, this guy's a very good guy. I found that very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and he kind of had that, reputation, through media interactions and whatnot. But he's just a brutally honest guy, and has a lot of raw emotion about what he does. But, he gets burned by the media a couple times for being a little too honest with how he's feeling or what he wants to say. But, he's a great teammate, works really hard, did a hell of a lot of stuff for his community in Oakland and the stuff. He did a lot of stuff in L.A. as well for inner city kids. And, you can't speak highly enough about a guy like that.
How about Jalen Ramsey? Have you met him yet? What an awesome individual that guy is. He was sick. His wife gave birth. His back hurt. Now he's making forced fumbles for the L.A. Rams and doing everything. I am a massive fan of the guy. Have you had any interactions with him, and what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, the brief. I mean, he's really about his business. I texted a couple guys that were with him in Jacksonville, and they couldn't, like we had with Marcus, just couldn't say enough about him. He's a really good player and a good teammate as well from what we've seen. He's a hard worker,
everyone on time, asks questions when he needs to know something, and he's kind of just finding his groove with the team and settling in. But he's going to be a huge part of our defense, and with AD and our D line create some pressures and him sticking on people like glue. It's going to be hopefully really good for him.
All right, thank you so much for answering your call. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Hecker, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you, dude. All right, good, he hung up there. I wanted to know that because it did seem like it was, and that makes sense, by the way, because they know how everybody's going to take it, and they stick up for their teammates. I like that a lot, by the way, for a locker room that's filled with personalities and egos, that they went out of their way to stick up for one of their own. I'm not sure the Jalen Ramsey thing is going to save them this year. They're going to have to pay him, by the way, with the Brinks truck at some point. He showed up to training camp that way, and maybe they'll be able to get going again late in the season into next year. But that NFC is going to be a tight race, and those wild card spots are not going to be easy to get, especially with the Cowboys if they can continue to play. By the way, obligatory Cowboys talk in the last 15 minutes of the show.
Yep.
If the Cowboys can continue to play the way they played last night, that is a guaranteed notch, a guaranteed spot representing the NFC East. Then you got the Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers, who look like they're going to continue to get hot and get better. There's 2 spots in the NFC. Then you got the San Francisco 49ers, who are currently undefeated. There's a spot. Then you got the Saints. There's a spot. The Seahawks, there's a spot. I mean, these spots are not going to be opened up. Teams are going to have to get going quick if they want to be in this thing in the long run. The Rams are one of those teams who had to make a play. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But these playoff spots are not going to be easy to get, Ty.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like you said, those are the 6 teams that are basically playing with house money right now, and everyone else is just trying to scramble to get into a position where they at least are going to have a game to win to get in there. Something interesting about Marcus Peters is they were showing his stats. He has the most interceptions since he got into the NFL, and he has got like 9 more than the next closest guy. So, like, he's definitely producing on the field, which is kind of weird because we always talk about, well, if there's off-the-field issues or the guy's doing extra stuff, if he's performing, typically they can kind of look the other way and kind of sweep it under the rug, but it looks like teams just aren't willing to do that with him.
Very interesting, though, that they all liked him. They still traded him away and brought in a guy that they're going to have to pay.
Right.
Very interesting move by the Rams, but hey, you got to put the
polarizing guy, too. Like very polarizing.
Who?
Jalen Ramsey. It's not like they're getting some guy who's like really quiet, who's, I mean, he's still going to talk. He's still going to be him. Like,
he was dominant yesterday. If he can continue to do that, that's good for the Rams. And in the AFC, it all comes down to Lamar Jackson if he can stay healthy. Mm-hmm. The Patriots, obviously, go ahead and hammer them tonight. I'm leaning towards that over the Jets covering 9.5. It's going to be a backdoor cover. Tom Brady in the fourth quarter is going to drive down, make it 10. And the Indianapolis Colts look like they're almost unstoppable at this point. The defense is incredible. The offensive line is still moving people, and Jacoby Brissett is the most underrated young quarterback to ever come into the NFL.
Truth.
Nobody's talking about him except for me. I get on ESPN and I bring him up. They're like, yeah, we'll talk about Deshaun Watson lose the game. I'm like, no, let's talk about Jacoby Brissett winning the game. I like the AFC. I like the NFC. This NFL is shaping up to be a magical one. 2019. Yes, we still have the Suck Bowl going on, but not for long. What if Ryan Fitzpatrick gets traded out of the Dolphins for the Chicago Bears? What if the Dolphins say, hey, Fitzmagic, we're trying to tank, and you're ruining that for us? If you let Fitzpatrick continue to play, what's going to happen, Ty?
They're going to win out.
And that's not what the Dolphins want. They want to win this suck fest. They want to win this suck bowl and get the number 1 pick. It's going to be tough with them Redskins and how bad they are. We will see as this NFL season continues to unfold. It's been a magical overreaction Monday, October 21st here in New York City. I have no idea why you listen, but we're thankful you do. This has been the Pat McAfee Show from World Trade 4. Cheers. Have an incredible Monday.